Hello and welcome to this episode of White Wolf Geography. In this episode we will be looking in detail at the Resource UK Overview topic, which is part of your Paper 2 study. Today we will focus on food resource issues within the UK. Key themes we will cover are seasonal foods and growing demand for these all year round, organic foods and moving to trends towards buying more organic produce, and finally carbon footprints and food miles associated with food products. We will begin by looking at growing crops all year round and if this is possible with seasonal produce. Seasonal food is fresh food that is ready to eat during its preferred season. An example of this would be Scottish raspberries are juicy and delicious in the summer and early autumn months. However, they do not grow in the wild in Scotland during the winter due to its cold climate. Within the UK before the 1960s, most fruits and vegetables were locally sourced and seasonal. This meant that produce was grown within an area of the UK and only available during certain times of the year. Again, for example, only being able to buy strawberries or raspberries in the summer months or early autumn. In recent years since the 1960s, the UK have seen a surge in demand for seasonal produce all year round. The population now expects to be able to buy food such as strawberries at any time, not just within the summer months. This has led to a huge increase in imported foods and goods to meet the population's demand. This means that we now import seasonal goods into the UK when ourselves are out of season. For example, in winter months the UK imports strawberries from hotter regions such as Mexico. Alongside the demand for seasonal goods all year round, the UK has also seen an increase in demand for higher value goods. These are high value imported goods such as exotic fruits and coffee. Quite often, these high value goods are produced in LIC countries and imported into the UK to meet the population's demands. Demand for high value goods has continued to grow in the UK as the population's income have also grown. This has meant more people have a disposable income to spend on these high value goods, again such as exotic fruits or coffee. A second food issue within the UK looks at meeting the growing demand for organic produce. Organic foods are produced following strict regulations including the use of chemical or artificial fertilisers and pesticides. These standards of organic farming can vary across the world, but all do look at to promote the ecological balance and conserve the biodiversity whilst growing this produce. As people wish to lead a more environmentally friendly lifestyle, demand for these organic produce increases. As well as following strict guidelines to also meet environmental standards, organic produce is often sourced locally. This can help reduce the environmental impacts through such things as transport. In 2016, the UK sales of organic produce grew by 4.9% and had an economic worth of up to £1.95 billion. This was a large income for the UK this year. You can now see on the slide a representation of organic sales in the UK between 2005 and 2019. You may want to pause at this point and take a look how the trends have changed over time. You can see since 2005 there have been fluctuations in sales. However, it is clear that from 2011 onwards this has been a trend of constant increase in sales. Between 2018 and 2019, a 4.5% increase was seen, resulting in sales within 2019 being worth £2.5 billion to the UK economy. As discussed previously, by applying the strict guidance of organic farming and not using chemical fertilisers and pesticides, we restrict how we can control and protect our crops. Instead, biological pest control is used in organic farming. For example, the introduction of ladybirds into crops to control pests and not threaten the crops themselves. There are many positive aspects to organic farming, many leading to its growth in demand in recent years. Let's have a read of these positive impacts now. You may want to pause again at this point so you can look in more detail what these aspects are. Positive aspects include the environment benefits because natural habitats are less threatened, meaning that the environment and habitats of animals is not threatened by chemical pesticides or fertilisers. The soil can be in better condition because of the manure used. This means that the soil can hold its nutrients for longer, meaning potentially a higher crop yield. It can provide healthier foods for people, so less chemicals are used on the foods before you eat them yourself. Biodiversity increases with fewer chemicals which harm bees and other insects. The industry is worth over £1 million per year, as seen in the previous slide. However, with all the positives of organic farming, there are also some negatives or some issues that can cause concern or hold the process back. At this point, you may wish to pause again to read through the negative aspects of organic farming. Some of these include more produce is damaged by pests. Although pests can be controlled biologically, e.g. with the introduction of ladybirds, not all can be controlled in this way, so crops can be put at damage by these pests. Weed control is time consuming as weeds are often removed mechanically, so instead of using chemicals to remove these weeds, it often takes more time. Some organic pesticides such as copper can remain in the soil and be harmful, so although they are less harmful than chemical fertilisers, they can remain for a long time. Organic dairy farms produce more methane per animal than non-organic. This is because of the diet of the cattle. This would add to such things as the greenhouse effect, remembering that methane can be 25 times more worse than carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Some organic farming methods use more water than non-organic methods. The crop yield is lower on organic farms, about 20% less compared to organic farming. Most of the organic food brought is actually imported, so although there is a growing demand, we are still not meeting that demand in the UK, and therefore produce has to be imported. This can often lead to an increased carbon footprint, which we'll move on to shortly. Another key issue and our final issue in food production in the UK is the food miles and carbon footprint associated with this production. Throughout all the stages of ensuring the population has a varied food source, greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide are produced. These include throughout the production, packaging and transportation of food. Food miles is often known and referred to as the distance food products travel to market. As a carbon footprint is the amount of greenhouse gases produced through all stages of food production, including production, packaging and transportation. All of these factors add to global warming. Environmentalists are now encouraging people to shop locally in order to reduce their carbon footprints. You can now see from the slide some examples of average food miles and carbon footprints throughout the UK. Average food miles can add to the greenhouse effect as they also come along with a carbon footprint. You can see from the examples the bananas in the average UK food miles travelled 5,523 miles, often by air, equating to 500 grams of carbon dioxide. Again, strawberries travelled 907 miles and on average by ship 30 grams of carbon dioxide. In order to reduce these miles, some people will choose to eat less imported goods and imported foods. Some ways we can do this is people can eat seasonal foods grown in the UK, so only eating strawberries in the summer or early autumn months, instead of importing from places such as Mexico. People could also grow their own foods in small allotments, growing enough to feed their own families so we do not have to import as much from other areas. However, as the UK becomes more urbanised, these areas may be more precious as more land is built on, leaving less land to grow your own crops. And finally, shopping locally. How locally sourced is the food you eat every day? And do people take notice of this? So, in summary, issues and key themes we have covered include: the issues we have included are demand for seasonal goods all year round, demand for organic produce, and increasing food miles and carbon footprints. We have also looked at access to seasonal goods all year round and how this is overcome by importing food into the UK. We have looked at the importance of organic produce in keeping biodiversity and reducing the use of chemical fertilisers and pesticides. We've also looked at how people can reduce their food miles and carbon footprints by choosing to shop locally or grow their own food. Thank you for watching this episode of White Glove Geography, where we have covered Section 2C to E, food resources and issues within the UK. Thank you.